Hello, everybody. My name is James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents, and it's the motorway rivalry on this one. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Brighton and Hove Albion correspondent. It's Sam Murray. How are you, Sam?
I'm very good, thank you, James. Hello, everyone. Hope we're all having a good week.
Good man. Yeah. Well, depends, right? Currently, when everyone hears this, I'm in Scotland, freezing cold, and have probably got beat on Thursday night. We shall say. And our Crystal Palace correspondent, Rory McLoughlin-Dowd, is here now. You, Rory?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, not freezing cold down here in the southern hemisphere.
No,
25
not
degrees today.
Not where you are in the world. It's not cold at all, mate. Fair game to you. Just a note to everyone, we are pre-recording this on Tuesday night, so there might be a little bit of team news between now and Friday that may be a little bit out of date, but we'll do our best here, I should imagine. Sam, we've spoke previously about the rivalry between you and Palace. Does it still mean just as much? Is this the most important game of the season?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one for me, and I hate it. I don't like playing Palace at all. It's one that always stands out, but it's too much stress for me. Especially after our last few results, it feels like a big one, definitely.
Remind everyone of the last few results. Are you talking about as in recently in the
Yes,
league rather than
yeah,
games
yeah.
against
I feel like we
Palace?
need a bit of a boost. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. We've never heard your opinion yet, Rory, on Palace Brighton, as far as I'm aware. What is your take on the rivalry?
Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly something that's developed over the last few years for me a little bit more. Historically, it wasn't really something. They were in I don't know, what was it, Sam? League One?
Well, they nearly went
When
out
we,
the league in
Something
'97,
like
didn't
that.
they? So
yeah. I wasn't really my only memory of them was when they popped up to the championship for a year and we beat them 5-0. I think AJ scored a hat trick. And then I don't my dad was telling me that this is a big game and I was like, well, it didn't feel like a big game.
so for
So
you, it's not a big deal at all.
no, I mean, it is because it's something that, your dad tells you about or your mates tell you about, and it's part of Palace culture, but it's not necessarily something individually for me. I'm from like Palace is quite spread out in terms of a fan base. So there's lots in kind of Surrey and Kent and maybe even North Sussex and that kind of area. But I'm very much in like the London side of it. So I'm in Lambeth. And for me, it's always like Millwall are just over there, and then Charlton were the team that relegated us from the Premier League when I was a kid. So not really AFC Wimbledon. They're a bit smaller, but it was more on the London side of things rather than going south from London that I thought were kind of rivalries. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, because geographical, you've got a lot of clubs within the area of Crystal Palace, right?
yeah, because I think for you, Sam, I don't know geographically, it's maybe quite far on a map, but it's possibly one of the clubs that you can get to fastest.
Yeah, yeah. Still one of the closest. Yeah.
What's easier, Southampton, Bournemouth, or Palace?
Um, Probably. But Palace is probably one of the easiest. Yeah, straight up. Yeah, especially born for Southampton. Sometimes it's a bit annoying with the trains along the coast. But yeah, it's not really about the distance, is it? But I work up near Gatwick, and I work with a lot of Palace fans. So it's sort of a still, I still do bump into Palace fans. It's close enough to be, you know, within in and about some of Palace fans. So yeah, this week they can sense my nervousness, I think.
We've done this in the past, Sam, and it's felt like you just couldn't beat Palace, like you were fated not to do it. But
Mm.
it's six unbeaten now, or do you read it as four of the last eight have been draws? Like,
Yeah,
how do you view it?
a few 1-1 draws in there, isn't there? Yeah, we did
Yeah,
go a while, and then we got a 1-0 win a couple of seasons back, and then last season was 4-1. Yeah, that was a really good one. Um, yeah, I just don't think it doesn't matter too much. It's always the most recent one that matters. So yeah, as soon as Sunday's been and gone, that'll be yeah. If we win that, I'm happy.
are you disappointed that the game moved? Because
Um,
originally it was a Monday night, wasn't it?
yes, yeah, it was a Monday night. Nah, not doesn't bother me too much.
So
Sunday's fine.
you'll still get just as good an atmosphere Sunday 2 o'clock. You think? Yeah.
Um, Atmosphere, the Amex, yeah, it'll be all right.
It's not the most vociferous. I think it's fair to say. Rui, is there anything the fact for you coming into this game that you've got two games with Arsenal immediately afterwards? Obviously playing Arsenal in the League Cup on Wednesday and then in the Premier League as well. Is that kind of a diversion from this at all?
I guess I mean The League Cup game for me is the game that could make the season like kind of meaningful because where we're in the league right now, we're probably not going to achieve anything. So then you're like FA Cup potentially because we have a decent third round draw, but it's still a long way to go in that competition. But when you get to a quarter final, that's obviously a big game. But then we drew Arsenal, so it's just like it kind of feels impossible. Um, so that for me is a distraction. I think he tends to go full strength in the cup as well.
Yeah, he has done.
Glass, yeah. So I think it probably will be a distraction. Fortunately, we've got a few players back now, especially in central midfield, so we can probably do that, have a turnaround for those games. And yeah, I think it might change the personnel a little bit, might lead to earlier subs, but I don't think it'll be a distraction for the players in terms of how much effort they're giving.
Would you rather win next Wednesday against Arsenal?
From an objective standpoint, yeah, if I take a step back from it, I would rather, yeah, get to a semi-final of the cup.
I get
Um,
that.
but I would also rather not lose this game. So if we could not lose this game and get to semi-final of the cup, I'd take that over winning this game and losing the cup
Yep. You're
quarterfinal.
seventh, Sam. That sounds great, but it probably doesn't feel great today, I'm guessing. Does it feel like you've missed a huge opportunity over this last week?
Yeah, yeah. I'm still quite annoyed after that Leicester game. Yeah, seventh in the league. I always feel like I come on the podcast after at a bad time because I should be positive because new manager, new players, new systems. It's a tough league. We're seventh, but it's tight on points. It does feel like the last few weeks have been missed opportunities, especially that Leicester game. So frustrating.
And Southampton at home as well.
Yeah, yeah. Southampton. I think we picked up the points in the bigger games. We've beaten City, Tottenham, Man United, Newcastle away as well, and then dropping points to Ipswich, Wolves, Southampton, all the teams down near the bottom. It's disappointing when you look at it on the face of it. We're doing fine. We're about where we should be, but you can't help but think no matter where we finish the season, if we finish eighth, if we finish fifth, you'd always look at those games and think if we just held on to a few more of those points, yeah, you're always going to think what if,
This
which
is
is
it, isn't
annoying.
it? If you'd come back and drawn 2-2 with Tottenham, if you'd drawn 1-1 with Man United, if you'd lost at Arsenal, drawn at Newcastle, and beat the teams you'd expected to beat, you'd probably be sitting here quite happy. It's just the way that the
Mm,
results have panned out, right? And
yeah,
bearing in mind it's Palace next, and they have been struggling so far this season.
mm, yeah.
Sam,
Another team struggling. Yeah, bit of a relegation battle. Teams we don't do well against. Yeah, it's worrying, and it's why it's an even bigger game. I think on Sunday for us. Like I said, if you drop me in at this point of the season, we had a lot of difficult games to start the season. I would have completely taken where we are. Still, obviously, well in with a chance of Europe. Seen some good signs from the new players and the manager, but yeah, it just feels like we've lost a bit of that momentum the last few games. And overall, on Twitter, you speak to Bright fans, it just feels like we need something big just to give us a bit of a boost.
would you take seventh at the end if I offered that to you now?
Uh, yeah, yeah, that'd be Europe probably of some
Yeah,
sort, wouldn't it? Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, one
Definitely.
hundred percent.
To be
Then
honest,
yeah,
seventh highly likely to be Europa League this year.
yeah, any sort of European football again. Like I wanted it bad the first time around, but after being out there and doing all of that and seeing Brighton in Europe, it's the only thing any Brighton fan wants. Yeah, any sort of European football would be amazing.
Because the teams that are obviously expected to push for top four are kind of adrift. Chelsea have joined the three that were expected, and those four feel like they're away, but the rest are falling over each other.
Mm, yeah, uh,
You're arguably, despite results against some inferior opposition, arguably in terms of drop points, you've arguably been near enough the most consistent in and around there in terms of expectation.
yeah, yeah. We're in that group. I think a few fans are getting a bit carried away, which is fair enough. Towards the beginning, we pick up some of them big wins, and you start looking up. But in typical Brighton fashion, we bring the expectations down a little bit. We realise where we are, and yeah, we're within that group. And there's a lot of good teams in this league. So it's just about sticking around this part of the table, staying in it until towards the end of the season, and give ourselves a chance.
Rory 17th. Is that a fair reflection on so far?
No, I don't think so. I think when I was on before, I mentioned that we just seem to have a funny 5 minutes in games, and end up losing them or dropping points. I think for like the Newcastle game recently, we were the better team for like 89.5 minutes and then just scored no goal. So I think if you look at like that, if you read into such things, if you look at the underlying stats, we're doing okay in terms of the amount of chances that we're creating, the XG. Defensively, we've definitely tightened up when we got the players back, and that back three, I really like Lacroix, Chalobah, and Gehi because I think they're just the physical profiles that the manager wants to play his system. Now we're getting the central midfielders back, so Wharton I think should be back possibly for this game, but definitely back over this Christmas period. Lerma obviously had the hamstring injury. He's been playing. Doucouré is not back at the level he was, but having those guys in there, we really did just have an injury crisis that was just concentrated in a few positions. And as a result, like over the last 8 games, I think we've lost one in all comps, I think. And
Yep.
then we had Mark Gehi and Devaney in central midfield. And it was just if- everything that could go wrong did go wrong, basically, in that game with the mistakes that we made and so on. So yeah, I feel like the performances have been good enough not to necessarily be up in like seventh or something, but to be 12th or 13th. I feel like we've not been as adrift off the pack as we are now, and I definitely don't think we've been 17th. And I'm not was never really concerned about relegation. Obviously, if the results continue, you get concerned, but we've been
In
decent.
fact, no one thinks she'll go down. And I think with people, if I say that I was 17th, I think probably people have to double check now. Are they actually 17th? Because you're one defeat in seven in the league, and that defeat is quite excused. If you look at the team that was fielded against Fulham, this is quite excused, kind of what you said. Does it feel like that? Does it feel like it's one defeat in seven, or does it feel like it's one win in six?
Well,
Because it's
that's the thing. If you
both.
if you have all the draws, right, it's how you end that run of draws that will determine whether it's like unbeaten in five or no wins in five or whatever. So looking at it, I think we've got these two league games that are tricky in the cup game. And I think we've got Bournemouth and Saints, and that finishes off to halfway, and then we've got a decent run, I think, going into January. So I think those points matter a lot more if we can actually convert them into something when the fixtures turn a little bit in the new year, and if we can build up a run of like 3 or 4 wins in a handful of games, that will make those draws, the City draw, meaningful to some extent.
Is it disappointing though? Because some was speculating in pre-season if you were going to kind of be a dark horse this year.
Yeah, well, that's always going to be perception. I think if you look at the teams that have done well, I mean, we didn't spend basically any money compared to anyone else. So I think Sam's team spent about 200 million quid. I think Fulham, who've done really well, they did spend quite a bit of money as well themselves. So a lot of those teams have spent when we didn't really strengthen. The squad was paper thin, essentially. So if we get our first 11 out there, everything's fine. But I think if we have 3 or 4 injuries to the first 11, there's not a lot of depth in certain positions. Like, for example, if Mitchell were to get injured, I don't know who plays. I think it's Schlupp as a left wing back, which he could do when he was 22. I don't think he can do it at 33, to be honest. So yeah, it's the lack of depth that's cost us once again.
Yeah, I think it's a story for many teams in the league. If you're missing key components from U11, it shows, and it will show more with a team like yourselves if you're struggling for depth. Why do you think you haven't spent money? Because you obviously got a sizable sum for Michael Elise, right?
Yeah, I think I mean, it could be to do with the ownership, to do with Texter and that thing that could potentially be changing, hopefully around the corner. We thought he said originally the end of November was when it could change and new owners could come in. It could be that it specifically with the Elise thing. I think they look at Jezza Raksaki, who's doing a good job at Sheffield United, as a player that they want to bring through. He obviously had a really good season in League One, 2 years ago now. Last season was a bit of a wasted season. So they wanted him to come through, and that's the identity of the football club. We've got 4 good central midfielders. We've got a lot of depth at centre half. So it is sometimes a question of how do you spend money to upgrade the team? Because if Mateta continued scoring, and he has scored goals, I think he's on 5 this season, maybe. If he gets 12 goals in a season, can we really complain about Mateta? So then how much would we have to spend to then upgrade that position? How much would we have to spend to upgrade on? Daniel Munoz is doing quite well. Henderson is doing quite well. How much do you have to pay to upgrade these players? So I think it's also that they want to sort of look for a bargain rather than go out and spend 40, 50 million quid.
Yeah, I mean, you're operating in different markets. I mean, if you look at players like Elise and Eze, you have to remember they came from like Queen's Park Rangers and Reading, right? And that's
Yeah.
you taking that kind of punt where others have been hesitant, perhaps in the championship, is probably the right sort of idea for you. And in defence of Sam's team, obviously spending a lot of money. I guess, Sam, the argument would be you just spent the Cucurella and Casado money, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. We spent a few seasons stacking that money up and had a bit of a spree. Yeah,
And I think it's fair to say you've not kind of broken the wage structure like badly for any
no,
particular individual or anything, have you? There've been
no.
lots of signings rather than you spent 60 million on one, right?
Yeah, yeah. Lots of signings and also players from leagues that wouldn't necessarily be coming here and demanding higher wages as well. So we're not paying, yeah, not paying crazy wages.
Is there a case to say, I mean, Rory said his team's a bit thin in terms of squad numbers. Have you got too many?
Um, well, we have a good squad. We have a really good squad. I think, yeah, in the summer we were kind of happy with our team, and we were still. I think that Jorginho Rutter signing was like, oh, do we need him? We do? He's been brilliant, but it does mean players like Enciso, Ferguson, even like Dingram not getting a lot of minutes. So yeah, we do have a big squad. Might be a case of loaning a few of those players out in January. There have been rumours with Ferguson and Ciso going to get some game time, which feels crazy because they're such talented players. With it, they played a lot of minutes for us last season, and it kind of felt like the season where they were gonna kick on. They were gonna be starting every game and be a key players. But yeah, they need minutes, so yeah, could be a case of loaning them out. So many brilliant attacking options. So.
Also want to keep the value in them, don't you? I mean, I know Enciso obviously and Ferguson's also had problems, but Enciso had a very injury interrupted season last year. At the back end of the previous season, people were saying, "What's this fella going to cost?" And
Mm.
Ferguson, people have been talking about three figures and stuff, mate.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and Ciso, I think he missed the start of the season. He missed pre-season because he went off to the Olympics, and he hasn't really had a few international breaks here and there as well. And he just hasn't really got any sort of minutes. And the form of some of those players ahead of him as well have been good. Ferguson as well. I still really love Evan Ferguson. I think he's such a good player. And he's still only 20 years old, I think. So it's difficult for a striker to find form and get in 20, 30 minutes off the bench, if that, especially after an injury. And I want to keep him around because I know we get an injury to Welbeck or to someone else, he will be in there. But I completely get it. If he does get a move to another Premier League team, a move abroad, whatever, I do understand that because yeah, keep his value up and gets a few goals, get his confidence back, get his sharpness back. Still a player in there. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Talking of strikers and form, Sam leads us nicely on the fantasy. I'm not happy with 9 points from Joao Pedro over the last three games, mate. I've was expecting like bombs to go off the way people were talking, mate.
Yeah, yeah, he's a very very good footballer. I bought him in as soon as I saw him back in full training before that Man City game.
Wow.
Yeah, I had him on the bench for the City game, but he's been in my team since. Yeah, as soon as I saw him available, he was in. He is really really good. He is, I think, a slight level above the rest. Such a big player. He can do everything, play anywhere across the front line, and yeah, it feels like a season he's really really stepped up. And one of the things I've liked most this season is just his leadership. I think he's a young, technical Brazilian. I feel like he could have gone. He's the best player in the squad. We know it. He's got bigger things probably at some point. He's still young, but he's kind of become the leader, the hard worker, which I really really like. He is good. He's really good. More
Yeah,
returns soon, hopefully.
no one's ever associated him with the word lazy or anything like that. I mean, he
No,
came on against City, and you actually used the word aura on the Monday
yeah,
podcast afterwards. That's how it felt when he came on in that game. It's like he had an
yeah.
aura. I'm going to win this football match.
He's becoming that player. Yeah, he is. He's brilliant. Again, probably one of those we're not going to have for a few seasons, but yeah, he's great and so cheap in fantasy football as well. Still a bargain. 5.8, 5.9 now,
He's
maybe.
5'9". By the time people hear this on Friday, he could even be six. So I bought him at 5'5". He's got me 9 points over three games, and now I might be looking at 6.0. That's interesting, to say the least. Have people missed the boat and to buy now, or should people still go there?
Um, he's still fine, to be honest. He's a starter, and I think him starting both of these most recent games is quite a big thing because I expect him to get good minutes. I wasn't sure if it'd be 70 and 30, but he plays 70 in both the games straight after an injury as well, Thursday to Sunday. So it hurts that he said time and time again he's important. He's our main man. I don't think people would have missed the boat. It does feel like it, but we still got some good fixtures coming up. He's cheap and he's starter on penalties. Yeah, still fine.
I take it it's not in your thoughts at all, Sam, to move on.
No, no, he's staying where he is for now.
Is there a point where that changes? Next couple, Palace, West Ham, Brentford, then it's a tougher run, arguably.
Um, Potentially, but I think there's probably going to be more important transfers down the line, and he's still. I've got a bit of value there if I wanted to move him on, but he's fine, and he's still a decent enough price. You can bench him if we have a few of the difficult games, and I'll be honest, I'm always happy to start him if it's a home against anyone. To be honest, you'd be okay starting him. It's not the end of the world.
Well, and also you've performed in the toughest
Yeah,
games, even factor the away games, draw at Arsenal, win at Newcastle. Okay, you opened up quite badly at Chelsea, but you still scored twice. So from his perspective, yeah, fine. There's not many weeks you'd want to bench him. There's a few people who've got big benching dilemmas this week, Sam. Joao
yeah.
Pedro, could you, if anyone asked you and gives you something, Joao Pedro versus Cunha this week, and I've heard questions like that, and they've got Ipswich at home. Like, what are you saying?
Um, yeah. And which team do you back to score more goals, Wolves or Brighton? Yeah, I'll probably. I don't know. That's so tough. Yeah, that's so difficult. Probably start Cunha. If you're not going to start at home to Ipswich, then
I
it's the
mean,
game
the
to
answer
play. But
that's an extreme example. The answer generally, I think, would be find someone else and
yeah,
just play those
yeah,
two players. There
yeah,
must be a weaker midfielder, maybe that you've got, I should imagine. But yeah, there will be some benching headaches going around this weekend, and Joao Pedro's name will, I think, remarkably come up. It
yeah.
won't come up under captaincy because I think there's so many potential possibilities for captaincy this week. This week could look a little bit like a free hit. Rory, do you own Joao Pedro yourself?
Yeah, I brought him in just now for I had Welbeck for 1 week because someone's predictions told me that he was gonna play Sam, and then he got
I,
this
I thought you was talking about
this
me there, Sam. Well done.
no no it was Sam. I saw on their thing it looked like he was nailed on, and then I guess he picked up some mystery injury, which I guess is always the problem with Danny Welbeck, could happen at any point. Yeah, but I think Welbeck is actually not to step on Sam's toes here, but my theory with Brighton is you just go for the obvious ones, really. And previously it was Pascal Gross, and then Welbeck is the one everyone's talking about buying, like Minte or Adingra or something, and then Welbeck is just always returning. So, but yeah, I have got Pedro.
You're gonna bench him this week, or are you gonna play him?
Yeah, he's third on my bench behind Vandenberg and Mazraoui.
Good lad. I've seen some actual Premier League players doing stuff like that at the weekend, as shared by FPL Focal. Pretty good stuff. On Welbeck though, Sam, I guess if people are still there, is it just go to João Pedro? What do we know about Welbeck at the moment?
I'm not sure what his injury was. It was a bit of a kick, I think, or an ankle or something like that. But he came off the bench against Leicester, got 20, 30 minutes, I think. And Ferguson didn't do anything too stand out to make him to put him ahead of Welbeck. Again, Hertz has said he loves Welbeck. Welbeck's become quite an important player and something we didn't quite expect at the beginning of the season. Maybe he'll be back in if he's fit enough. It's a decision though on Sunday whether you start Welbeck or play Pedro again at number 9. So maybe give it another week. But yeah, Welbeck should be a starter.
When everyone was steaming into João Pedro, either kind of just before the Bournemouth game or before the Southampton game, there was the odd question of, well, why are we not going for Welbeck here?
Mm.
And a lot of that was, I'm not too sure actually. And yet now they've crossed over, and João Pedro is valued more. I guess if you're a Welbeck owner and he's got 15.8% ownership at the time of recording, that's going to keep going down, isn't it? You're going to flip that, I think, I should imagine, for most people. I also said on Monday's pod, Sam, that I thought the Welbeck return would be good for Joao Pedro. Rather than, oh, Joao Pedro be deeper if Welbeck comes back, does he take some of the pressure off Joao Pedro?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair enough. Yeah, I think the attack just works a little bit better with Welbeck anyway sometimes, and yeah, it's not like they're directly competing. João Pedro can his versatility is great. They can play in the same side, so well, I think be it Welbeck coming back, yeah, could even be beneficial for Pedro.
Okay. Any other Brighton in your squad at the moment?
Um, no, no other Brighton players.
For you, Rory?
No, I don't have any.
Any Palace?
No,
What's the
not for
plan?
this run. Um, what do you mean to when to bring them in?
Yeah, I mean, have you got it in mind? I mean, there's a swing from game week 19. You between game weeks 19 and 23, you go up to second on my ticker,
Yeah,
which is
well,
basically when you walk into Southampton at home, and that feels like the time to look.
yeah. So I was looking earlier because I've got Semenyo, and I'm also someone who's been disappointed with Semenyo. So I was thinking of getting Ismaila Sarr in for that.
Ooh.
Because he's around the same price and he's performing quite well. Eze is the one that we would obviously ordinarily point to as the talisman, but he's not been firing. Even things like against City, he got played through and he checked back inside twice, and each time he checked, he made it a worse opportunity. And
Yeah, he had one at the Homestyle Road end, and it was like, hit it, mate.
yeah,
Get
just
on with
left foot.
it.
You're so close to the keeper, he's not actually going to be able to react. So as long as you don't hit the keeper, chances are it will go in. But he's never been good with one-on-ones. I think I can remember us playing him through for quite a few last season against Forest away. I think he had a really good one that Wharton played him in for, and Villa as well. There was another good chance. So one-on-ones have never been Eze's forte, really. And if he did add that to his game in this system, he'd get 4 or 5 more goals. But at the moment, for me, Sarr is the one who's actually playing well. And I think maybe this weekend against Brighton, with the high line that they like to play, our 10 sit a bit deeper. So he'll be making the runs from deep if they do step up and then run into the space behind either Dunk or Van Hecke, whoever it is, they've probably not got as much pace as Sarr, so um, that's what I'd go for. And then for the run, maybe I'd be getting in a defensive asset. Now you can talk about getting Munoz. He's obviously started scoring goals, which I always thought we would for us. The defense has tightened up a bit, so clean sheets might come. I think most people are taking money out of defense, aren't they? So you might go for someone a little bit cheaper. I mean, I think that back three is perhaps nailed there with Chalobah, Lacroix, and Guehi. Lacroix looks,
Riyadh is close, isn't he? Charlie Riyadh. It's close to being available now, isn't he?
yeah, but I think he played against West Ham before we got the other two in.
Okay.
I think that was second game of the season. He played that game and made a couple of mistakes, then played the cup game, got injured. So I think he will be a bit behind. I think Chris Richards is more the threat for those guys. I think he'll be more likely to come in. He he looks better on the left side when he played in the back two. I don't know. In a back three, he played a lot for Hoffenheim in the back three. In the Bundesliga 2 seasons ago or whatever. So he can play wide centre half in a back three. He's obviously right-footed, so maybe that's a little bit of a threat to Chalobah, depending on what happens. So I would say Lacroix from those three would be the guy to go for. You could get the keeper. I mean, if you needed keeper.
Well, no, seriously, he's 4.4. Yeah, sure. Why not? Timing wise, probably doesn't feel great at the moment. One bonus with Henderson, we saw that at Villa again recently. He can haul in the sense that he could save a penalty. He's one of the best in the league in terms of stopping penalties, so that's always in his locker. There's no threat to his place whatsoever, and as documented, once you hit 19, admittedly there's Chelsea in 20 as well, but it is at home. That run between 19 sort of going up to 25 looks a lot better. So it's Southampton at home, Chelsea at home, Leicester away, West Ham away, Brentford at home, United away, Everton at home, game at 25. Good run.
Yeah, it is a good run. So you could bring him in. I think, strangely enough, recently we've had quite a few Desmonds, which is
Yes,
strange
you
because
have.
we
That's
tightened up the
two
defense.
twos for the people who don't know.
Well, yeah, we know down here in South Africa about Desmond Tutu.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I think it's because we're trying to win games. We're stretching out games a little bit more. Um, so that's why we're conceding more goals. I don't think it's necessarily that the defense is playing badly because it looks fine in game, but I think it's that we realized we weren't creating enough chances, so we started playing a little bit more attacking and then conceded a few as a result. So maybe when the fixtures get a bit easier, then maybe we'll start keeping some clean sheets. I would have predicted at the start of the season.
Okay. So your preference of the three centre backs would be Lacroix, who's obviously
Yeah,
scored against City at the moment, at 0.1 more than Chalobah because you think there's a small risk to him potentially.
and obviously you can't play that Chelsea game. So if you did need him for that Chelsea game, you can't play that.
Very good point, mate. Um, and I guess you'd go that rather than go up to Munoz.
I would go
So
for Munoz
you would go
because
up for it. Okay.
he pops up absolutely everywhere. I mean, the chance he missed against Newcastle, he was playing left wing when he missed it. That's why he missed it. It was on his weaker foot, but he's popping up everywhere.
I guess the point would be once you've gone up there, you get tempted to look at other teams rather than yourselves. So I think like the conversations we've been having recently about say like Jan Paul van Heck, for example, is a conversation we probably are going to have about the Palace centre backs in a few weeks' time. If Munoz scored again over this period, and you go, Jesus, scored 3 and 5, I can see a little bit of a push for it maybe. But I think once you get up to 5, at a point where your fixtures get good, you might have Ibrahim Konate coming back for Liverpool at a similar price. That's probably the sort of point that I'm making here. I just wonder if people will want to do it.
Yeah, but how many people have still got, say, Nuri, and then when our fixtures
Tell me
swing,
about it. Most of us.
there's kind of
Sam's
swing at this.
smiling as well. Like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. Well, their fixtures swing when ours swing. So if you're looking at just from
Correct.
a fixture perspective, then maybe that will could be a move that people will make if you want to get off. So that those are two players I own that I've been disappointed with, and yeah, I guess I've just worked out how I'm going to get out of that is like Nuri to Munoz and Semenyo to Ismail Assar probably.
Yeah, the reason I think Palace is turning 19 is so interesting. There's so many good teams who have got really good fixtures this week who people are invested in, like your team, Sam, who then actually have difficult fixtures at that point in 19. So you go to Villa in 19, Sam, and then have Arsenal in 20. So I think at that point you are looking elsewhere potentially. Newcastle, if you take something like people going Gordon maybe for a few, Rory, well then they go to United and Tottenham 19, 20. Yeah, stop laughing at the back. They might be good fixtures, but you might look at Eze at that point. Similarly, Wolves, you just mentioned, Eight Nori, Cunha, other players, they go to Tottenham that week, you're beginning to look away. That's quite interesting that. So I think specifically in 19, you'll be really popular because you're the one where it's like, it comes for Palace now. Arguably you and a little bit Fulham, but Fulham play Southampton in 17. So I think people are more looking at Fulham a couple of weeks before, I think, actually.
Yeah, maybe a brief little sort of flag is the sounds are that we might spend a bit of money in January, so I don't know whose positions could potentially be under threat. Um, we're obviously struggling to score goals, so they're more likely to be the final third, so we might bring a couple in.
Is there any danger an Eze or a Gay went in January?
I don't know. No, well, I think the manager's literally said no one's leaving who he doesn't want to leave, and that seems like the kind of thing that he would, ultimatum the board with, basically.
Yeah, and those two players haven't shown any signs that they're going to kick up a fuss. I guess there is a chance they go next summer, though.
Yeah, I mean, Gay's only got a year left in the summer, so I think if he'd signed a new contract, we would have announced it by now. There was some kind of rumbling that they'd try to get him to sign a new contract with a release clause in it just to protect the value, because then you can plan ahead and you go, well, we know we'll get 50 million, so we can work out how we're going to spend it.
Okay.
But yeah, no confirmation of that yet. But then they keep those things secret. We had that with the Tyrant Mitchell one, didn't we? Well, the internet seems to think his contract's expiring in the summer.
Great time to correct that. Please do that now. Go on.
Yeah, he's his contract's I think 2027, Tyrant Mitchell. So I think that's when it expires.
Yeah, it is reported he's out of contract next summer, but he's not. He has actually got sort of 2.5 to go, actually. Sam, who's your favourite centre back partner pairing? Not Hertzler's, not the rest of the crowd. Who's yours?
Van Heck and Dunk.
Is that clear?
For me, yeah, that's clear for me. For others, it hasn't been as clear. I was slightly surprised to see so many Brighton fans prepared to drop Dunk for Igor. I get it to an extent, especially after Dunk's injury. He's played a lot of football and a lot of football through injuries, getting a bit older and probably past his peak. But Igor's a decent backup. He's not much more than that for me. Brilliant versus Newcastle away. He was great. He's all right in the other games. A little bit shaky. Got a mistake in him, but yeah, I'm not Eagles' biggest fan, and maybe I'm being slightly harsh. He's far Dunk, yeah, Dunk for me. I'm happy to have him back in there. A bit of experience that we do lack. I do think that centre back position in the summer is an area to look at. Left-footed centre back, hopefully with a bit of pace as well. But for now, I'm happy with Duncan Van Heck.
He's go on, Rory, go on.
Yeah, I was going to ask what's happened to Webster because the last couple of times I've seen him, I remember when he was absolutely brilliant for you guys, but then the last couple of times he hasn't been as good.
Yeah, he's a good backup. He's fine for like those cup matches, but he's I think there's that game against Chelsea away where we played that high line and it was a rough afternoon. He did start at like he was the third choice centre back at the beginning of the season when Van Heck was injured. I think he missed a few games and he chose Webster over Igor. He's got an injury. I think Igor's now ahead of him. So fourth choice centre back Webster now. Yeah.
He had a run, didn't he, a couple of years ago, and a few were sort of speculating if he'd get in the England squad, but he's never got back to that level, really, has he?
No, no, and yeah, again, decent player. Again, if a team maybe towards the bottom of the league, good ball playing defender, but yeah, he's not quite on the level now to be starting for us.
Is Van Heck the number one now?
Yeah,
Is he in a mythical world? Is he ahead of Dunk?
is he our best centre back in terms of ability? Yeah. I'm not sure how much Hertzler values the captain, the leadership, the experience of Dunk. So that's where it gets a little bit difficult. But yeah, I think he's our best centre back. He's been really really good. Because there was this time last season it was between him, Igor, and Webster, and he's really stepped up. And yeah, he's been one of our better players. When he's not there, we miss him. He's really good. Yeah.
What did you make of the system at Fulham, Sal?
Um, got a bit of stick, Hertzler. I don't think he could have done much else, to be honest, because he said he wants to play the back four because he said it's because of the attackers we have. It gets the most out of them. I also don't really think he's got the players to play the back three like he wants to potentially. Um, Against Fulham, if we wanted to play a back four, it would have been Van Heck at right back. We had no Veltman, we had no Kadioglu or Hinshelwood, who could also probably have filled in there. And Lamptey trying to get him to play 3 games in 1 week would have been bad. So I don't think he had much of a choice. It was all right. Again, it was a bit reactionary. We conceded 2 shots on target that game and conceded 3 goals. There's individual errors and stuff like that. So yeah, it's difficult to judge off one game. I don't think it was that bad, but I think the standard back four is the way to go for now.
If people want to invest in the 4.5 range of defenders you have, bearing in mind Joel Veltman was close at the weekend and I guess could be involved this weekend, 4.5. Kadioglu, where do we stand? We just don't know, do we?
With these, it's sort of like soon, but the games are coming so quick at the minute. It's difficult to put an actual game week on it, but yeah, hopefully soonish.
Okay, Lamptey will have caught people's attention at the weekend because
Yeah,
he scored a terrific goal at 4.4. We're ruling Julio out, so Van Heck, Dunk. So between Veltman, Van Heck, Dunk, Lamptey, where would you tell people to put their money?
well, it's nice to see Lamptey back. He's getting some minutes now because of the injuries, but yeah, I think once Veltman's back in, he goes back in there. And there's enough doubt around the other. So right back, we've got Veltman, but there's enough of competition there to put me off Veltman. And also, he's not the most attacking. It's not like you're getting a really attacking fullback there. So you're looking at one of the centre backs, Dunk and Van Heck. Probably go for. I don't know, it's tough. Dunk's slightly cheaper, isn't he?
4.4 now.
Yeah, I don't mind Dunk now. Yeah, a few weeks
Okay.
ago I would have said Van Heck, but I think Dunk stays in now.
Yeah, I think now he's back in, he's staying. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think even after the Fulham game, it looked about Van Heck as well. Or I'm not sure now.
yeah.
Sunday gave the clarity. I think that yeah, primarily that's going to be the two. Or the other option here is we pay a bit extra for Mr. Purvis, you stupid nan.
Um, yeah, again, good for minutes. again, there will be the threat from Kadioglu and Hinchell when they're back as well. It's probably not worth the extra there. He has been decent, getting up the pitch, having a few shots. Crossing has been frustrating at times. Still not at his best, which we know those levels that he can get to. The price is probably not worth paying the extra, especially the fixtures coming up, because you've got Villa, you've got Arsenal, United
Is it
away. Yeah,
Kadioglu fear
probably.
as well? We still don't really know we can play any position, it feels like, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, Kadioglu as well. He will get minutes. He will take minutes off of Stupinan. I'm not really sure where he's to be starting most often. Kadioglu. It's a bit of everything. Like I said, left back, right back. He's played right midfield a few times. So a player like that just puts enough doubt in the fullbacks, I think.
Okay. If you were wildcarding now, Sam, do you think you'd go a Brighton defensive asset or not? And include the goalkeeper in that question.
Maybe Verbuggen's a solid shout, to be honest. I'm still not overly convinced defensively. We're sort of middle of the road. We don't look completely comfortable. I feel like sometimes we're in control of games. We've seen it, and we're affected quite heavily with just a bit of momentum. A goal goes in. I know it's normal, but all of a sudden we look like we're going to concede 3 or 4. I would probably wouldn't have a Brighton defender in there, but I don't mind Verbuggen. I don't mind the centre backs really.
It's interesting that. I mean, Verbuggen missed the first 2 games for a bit of clarity, but Henderson's got 18 more points at 0.1 cheaper. And soon we're going to head towards, like what we said, a positive swing for Palace. Rory,
Yeah.
Henderson or Verbuggen, if you were choosing that?
Henderson,
Henderson?
because of the run, but also get more save points, I think, in the big games. Actually,
Feels that way.
maybe. But like,
It's worth saying
well,
Verbuggen's got a 10-pointer in there, like away to Newcastle, Sam. So it's not like he's incapable of hauling. We've seen that.
Yeah. I think you probably play the fixtures and lean towards Henderson.
And the irony of that is you probably wouldn't have picked him at Newcastle, subject to if you was on a rotation, you probably would have benched him that week. I'm gonna guess that's the irony.
Yeah, we had that question in the last podcast. Remember, it was between a Flecken and Verbuggen. I think Flecken had United, and it was a bit of a 50-50 that week. So a few would have missed out on a 10 points like that. Yeah.
There'll be a few on that rotation. They should prepare, I guess, for Verbuggen to let them down in the forthcoming week, should they?
Probably.
Munoz versus Estupinan then, Sam, if you're buying one.
Yeah, probably Munoz. From a neutral point of view, I don't like having Palace players in my team. So I'd probably go for neither. But between the two, yeah,
Okay.
Munoz.
So, you agree with that, Rory? I take it.
yeah, I was just trying to see. I think from open play, we're both basically the same in terms of expected goals against. So both teams are very, very similar defensively from open play. So I don't know if you guys have got any set piece weaknesses. I think Munoz is he's very busy. He is just everywhere, all over the pitch at all times. Um, and he doesn't seem to tire or get injured, touch wood,
He's also going to
at all.
play, isn't
So
he? We know that when we're comparing these two
yeah,
players.
yeah, definitely. And with the run coming up, I think he might pop up with a few more attacking returns.
Okay, that's 2-0 to you then, Rory. Interestingly. Let's see if you make the case for 3-0 then. Eze versus Mitoma. Same
Mm.
price. 6.6 at
Well,
time
I'd
of
say
recording.
short term, you probably go with Mitoma. Eze is not in any kind of form. I
That'll be
th
disappointing for people to hear because there'll be people planning to buy him, I think.
Yeah, maybe after Christmas. I mean, look, if he scores a goal, I think it does have to be an open play goal. He's obviously got great delivery on set pieces, takes a good free kick, but I think he needs a goal. He needs some confidence. He needs a shot in the arm from somewhere. So yes, maybe that will be us signing someone in January and maybe taking him out the team for a bit and putting pressure on him. Or maybe he just needs one thing to go right. But I wouldn't necessarily buy him right now. But we're going to go into a good run of fixtures soon. But as I said, I think Sarr in this system is doing very well.
Okay. Sam, Mitoma for you? How you feeling about him?
Um, yeah, Yeah, fine. Yeah, we know what he can do. He's been good. He's getting a lot of minutes. He's behind Pedro, probably
His
most
minutes are
nailed.
very strong.
Yeah,
He's playing
yeah,
nearly 90 every game, bar that he was a substitute at Newcastle in game week 8.
yeah. I think we probably thought there'd be a bit more competition from Adingra, um, but he's been playing out on the right, which is it's not his best position. Mitoma versus Eze, yeah, Mitoma's fine, yeah. Although get playing the fixtures, I think people just as soon as Eze gets that gets that goal, gets a bit of form, people are on Eze, aren't they? Like beginning of the season, everyone had Eze, so both capable, yeah.
You could definitely see Mitoma owners being very content with the next three. Getting to game week 19, you go to Villa, Palace got Southampton at home. What can I get, Eze? You can almost script
Yeah,
people looking at that particular transfer. Um, Rutter versus Sarr then, Sam. Rory's speaking well of Sarr here.
yeah. I don't know too much about Sarr. If he's got the minutes, I'd probably go there just because. I mean, Jorginho's been really good. I've been really impressed with him. He was one of the players that felt like a bit of an extra, bit of a nice one
I
to
think he
have.
stepped up when Joao Pedro was out as well, was really handy for you.
Yeah, yeah, he's been really good, and he's already like such a favourite with the fans just because of his the way he works back, his energy is he's a great player to have. In terms of fantasy football, I'm not sure about how that translates into returns. He'll be involved, but yeah, if he's playing on that right hand side, we've got a Dinger, we've got Minter who can play there. If he's not starting in the middle behind Welbeck, you got a Joao Pedro in there now as well. So yeah, it's just the minutes. If Sar's got better minutes, I'd probably go there.
Will he though, Rory? I mean, it was interesting. Devaney came on ahead of Kamada at the weekend. I found was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting when Camado's coming back from an injury, obviously. But it was weird. Devaney came on for Eze and he played left attacking midfield, and then Nketiah came on for Sarr. Nketiah has not looked good in attacking midfield, but I think Nketiah and Devaney swapped in game, and Nketiah went over to the left. Don't know if that's what the manager wanted. I don't. Maybe Nketiah decided he wanted to be over there because that makes more sense, doesn't it? Because then he can cut inside and have a shot,
Yeah.
whereas Devaney just runs around. But Saab, yeah, Saab will get the minutes. He'll definitely get the starts. I think it's just managing minutes around this time of the season where it's, lots of games.
Is he, I guess, as well, if the front three, if you will, with Sarr, Eze, Mateta, is
Yeah.
Sarr the likeliest to come off the pitch first once Eze's, and we should remember he's just come back from an injury.
Y- I mean, I would think so as a fan, but I think the manager very much bases it on how the game's going and who's doing well. But Saar is more likely to, I suppose, get tired just because he does more sprints. Like he will do more sprinting in the game, running in behind, because that's basically his job. Because Mateta sometimes drops in and then lays it off to Eze, who'll knock it around the corner for Sarr to run onto. So yeah, his finishing isn't fantastic, but who did he score against? Scored against Villa, I think. Good
He had
goal.
the breakaway, didn't he?
Yeah, so that's the sort of goal I can see him scoring quite a lot.
So arguably might even be a better asset against a stronger opponent, possibly, where you're going to have
Possibly,
less of the
but
ball.
a lot of the so-called lesser teams like to play good football these days.
No,
So
it's very
yeah, for
true.
example, Southampton, if we win the ball high up,
Yes.
yeah, that kind of thing with him pressing, or same with they're having a great season, they're playing well, but same with Bournemouth where they'll be pressing high, so therefore they'll be spacing behind.
Yep.
So
So not like not in a Forest away is probably a better way of putting it then, for
yeah,
example. Sorry, just to pick on Forest, that's the example I thought of.
well, we
See,
played that, so
yeah, and your form has been much better since then. That was the game where you tweaked the back three and it's stuck since then. That almost feels
yeah,
like the start of where you're at, actually, is that game.
and that was where Nketiah started as well, and yeah, it didn't really work.
Agree. Sam, if you were buying one of them midfielders then, is it more for Mitoma or less for Rutter or an alternative? Minter obviously scored a great goal at the
Um,
weekend.
yeah. Again, this time of season, it just feels like you want the minutes, don't you? Going, we've got so many games. Probably out of the midfielders, it's Matoma.
Is he worth paying one? Well, I was going to say 1 point a bit. It's not, is it 0.7 more than Joao Pedro at the time of recording?
Mm, no, no, I prefer Pedro.
That's
I
the
think
line
that's
I've
that
been
price.
using with Mitoma, and I can't get it out of my head since I said it. It's like you're paying more for Brighton's second best asset. That's how it feels
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, like three. Forgetting what the last 3 weeks of results. I think you look at those fixtures. Before those fixtures, I was saying, yeah, don't mind Mitoma for a bit of a difference. But now those games are out the way, and yeah, it's not as green coming up. I think just Pedro's fine.
Okay.
For this weekend, though, sorry, James.
Go on.
So, for this weekend, that is the weaker side of our defense, though, I think, from an offensive perspective, because Munoz will push up and then he'll be running at Chalobah. So,
Hmm, good.
Okay. A word on Mateta before we finish, Rory?
I mean, that was a great goal against Ipswich, wasn't it? But he
Yeah.
didn't get to
He
play
should have got
Jacob Greaves
another as
every
well.
week. Yes, yeah, he should have done. I mean, he hasn't. I think he's had most of our chances in terms of XG, but I can't remember him missing too many decent chances. But yeah, w when the team creates chances, they will fall to Mateta just naturally. So yeah, I'm optimistic that he will get double figures this season, but that doesn't make him as good a fantasy asset as he would from game week 25 onwards last season.
He's 4 goals from an XG of 4.5 so far. So
Yeah, well,
slight underperformance. Who's
the
on
whole
pens?
team,
He's
I think it's
underperforming, yeah.
Mateta. Yeah, it
Mateta
will
on
be
pens, yeah.
Mateta.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. It could be Eze, but I think it's
No,
probably Mateta.
no doubt, Joao Pedro, Sam, yeah.
Yeah, Pedro.
Okay, cool. Thank you, gents. Really good stuff. Wish you both the best of luck for the game on Sunday. Let's do predictions before we finish. Sam?
Predictions. I would love to win this one, but I'll go for the classic Brighton Palace 1-1.
What a bottle job.
I'll go for the I'll go for the classic two then. Crystal Palace 3, Brighton 0, Lewis Dunk sent off.
Yeah, fair.
Has that happened before, Rory?
Yeah, that was like the first
Yeah,
time we played
Sellers,
against
but
us. Yeah. And then they beat us 3-0 at theirs and then playoffs.
playoffs, don't talk about them. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're definitely getting stability now, Rory, and we've not touched on it too much here, but you said it near the start about Decore's return, Lerma. You were looking weak in that area for a while. I think that's fixed. The stability of the back three and actually the positioning has not changed recently. That's fine. The team looks stable. That now makes you a difficult team to beat. Your results this year, Sam, have been erratic in the sense this is the sort of game. Oh, what Brighton done in these fixtures so far this season? Well, what you've predicted, but you can't keep doing this, can you?
Well, we'll find out. It's just been random. Yeah, don't know what's going to happen. If we start well, it's just all about momentum. We haven't had a consistent 90 minutes all season. Like genuinely, as soon as we get a goal, we've got the momentum. We look like we're going to score 3 or 4, but completely happens the other way around. If we concede and it all goes wrong, just a consistent good 90 minutes would be nice.
Yeah, look, new manager, he's doing well so far, mate. I think very quietly he's doing a good job, actually. I'm going to give you the edge on this one as well. I'm going to say 2-1 to your team, Sam. But I think, Rory, there is no concern about your team, mate. You will definitely rise up that table, no doubt at all. Anything you want to plug, Sam, before we finish?
At FPL Seagull on Twitter.
Good stuff, Rory.
Not plugging the Patreon after you've just said that, James.
Okay, fine. That's fair enough. I accept that. Cheers. And I probably deserved it. Sorry, did I say 2-1 to Palace? No. Deadline stream tomorrow, which feels weird saying that on Tuesday, but on Saturday is available to everyone, 12:30 p.m. UK time if I've made it back from Glasgow in one piece. And so to be back with me on Monday for the game review. Just leaves me to say thanks very much to Sam and Rory. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please. Man child.